Designer babies. They are human embryos that are genetically modified to meet the parents' or scientists' specifications in order to gain desirable traits. These special traits could be to increase intelligence, become immune to certain diseases and viruses, and even modifying gender. I want to focus on gender because it is an extremely controversial topic about the ethicality of it. Gender selection isn't anything complicated either. It is quite simple. There are gender selection centers that specialize in doing these procedures. One gender selection center published their procedure. It goes like this. First off, a few eggs are extracted from the mother, and the sperm is taken from the father. The egg is then fertilized by the sperm in the lab. After a 3-day wait, 8 cell embryos will be developed. Then a scientist will examine the genetic makeup of the embryos, screening for any genetic diseases and desired gender trait. Then the healthy embryo that have been selected for gender of the mother's and father's choosing is implanted back into the mother. All other healthy embryos are cryo-frozen. Cryo-freezing uses temperatures below -130°C in order to preserve for future use. Lastly, labor takes place as it normally would. Some pros of designer babies are that it can increase human lifespan for up to 30 years, can prevent certain genetic diseases such as Alzheimer's, Down syndrome, and many other diseases. It also reduces the risk of inherited medical conditions such as obesity, anemia, diabetes, and many others. Some cons of designer babies are that it isn't 100% safe yet, and if the process is not done carefully, the embryo could die. Also, genetic engineers can't possibly examine every gene in an embryo and could possibly overlook some small details. This procedure also isn't affordable for everyone. Personally, I strongly disagree with this whole concept. First of all, the baby being genetically engineered is ethically wrong. Their body is modified by the parent's specifications or the scientist's specifications, which means the baby has no say or consent over what happens to their body. Many people who are for this idea argue that parents who are against the idea can just not get designer babies, but that isn't really the main point. This leads to my second point. Having designer babies would also create different classes between designer and non-designer babies. It would separate or leave a gap in our society, and I just don't feel like it's right. My last point is that if we have designer babies, no one would be unique. If every boy is smart or every girl is pretty, it would seem everyone is the same. That concludes the process of creating designer babies, pros and cons of them, and my personal thoughts on the matter.